I can have your attention here in the media center. We are now joined by this year's Daytona 500 champion, Denny Hamlin, driver of the number 11 FedEx Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Denny, the race here in February was one of the most remarkable races. Have you come down off the cloud that win provided you this year?
Yeah, it's definitely been a good year, no matter what, when you win a race like that. But yeah, it's cool to come back here, and obviously you go had some Coke ride-alongs yesterday, and you're back in victory lane where you were, and definitely brings back some good memories for sure. So really, this track has been very good to me throughout my career, and obviously we hope to kind of complete the sweep this weekend.
Good deal. We're going to open the floor up to questions. We'll start with Jeff and go over to Jordan and come up here to Greg.
Jeff Clark from USA Today. Denny, you explained what happened at Sonoma after the race in detail, but then afterwards on social media, there was a lot of people that started saying, oh, Denny let Tony win, and looked at the replays and tried to break them down. Did you let Tony win?
I didn't let Tony win. I made a mistake. I didn't execute very good. Ultimately, I thought even though I made a mistake, we would maybe drag race to the line because we were in the center of the corner side by side, and I was thinking this could be good. But once I saw him steer left, I knew that was over with. So he had an opportunity. He took it. I mean, if I'm in his situation, I probably do the same. My biggest mistake, I feel like, is not recognizing the gap that I had behind me. I don't know whether Tony would have got there or not. I thought that it would have been very close if he really wanted to carry the car down in there, whether he still would have got to me or not. But I still needed to execute to make him make that decision. Instead, I've kind of made the decision for him.
We're going to go to Jordan, to Greg, then to Jonathan, and then to Nate.
Jordan Bianchi, SBNation.com. Denny, going back to February, you and your teammates, including Truex, had a strategy to work together, and that was what you guys were going to do, and you guys did that very, very well because you thought Earnhardt was you needed to do that to beat Earnhardt. Are you going to be using that same kind of strategy and game plan on Saturday night?
I mean, anytime we can work together, we're going to try for sure. I don't know that it was a plot to take out one car by any means. I thought that we showed a lot of speed with just our cars in practice, looking at the lap times, what we were able to run as a group of five. And simple math says that that was what the pack was going to run. So I knew if we could just stay in a line and commit to each other, that it would have been tough for someone to pass us. So it worked out well. Legitimately, there was five cars, five Toyotas that had a shot to win on the final lap. And that's really all we could have asked for. So it was something that was in the works for a long time. It was executed perfectly by our whole organization, and it worked out. So obviously, anytime you're successful with something like that, you want to try to repeat it. But obviously, the competitors have a lot of say in that. So there's 35 others that are going to have issues with what our plan is.
Greg, Jonathan, then Nate.
Greg Engel, Examiner.com. Talking about, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was talking earlier about how crowded pit road seemed to be last week at Sonoma in terms of pre-race. And there were a lot of fans and everything was going on. That being said, in general and overall during a race weekend, when's the best time? When would you tell a fan, if you could just talk directly to them, when would you tell a fan, hey, the best times to approach me and have an interaction are, and the worst times are?
I mean, the best times are obviously if you can get us at autograph sessions and things like that. There's always times that we're walking around casually, things like that. Really, it's tough for us because we are. It's so easy to access us at all times. There's no locker room except for maybe our haulers, where that's our space that we could get away. It's not that we're trying to get away, but we do have to have some sort of time to ourselves to be professional. It's tough right before a race, honestly. I agree last week was a mess, to say the least. It was hard to even just walk to your car, and it's a very small pit road. There's some things that definitely could get done. I think that really each team should have a 10-foot square space around their car that is designated for just the driver and their team. I think that we could definitely work on that. I think a lot of tracks are working on that because honestly, if they're monitoring the crew guys touching the cars so much before the race, the casual race fan can do just about anything they want to the side of the car. I mean, it's really crazy, how much, I've seen guys just fall over the hood of the car and dent it in. It's like, that's more an adjustment than any of these crew guys are doing. So it's something that could be addressed and will be addressed, and it's just constant things to make it better. But our fans have all the excess that they can handle for sure in our sport. And as drivers, it's tough because we want to be polite and sign all the autographs that we can, but there's a point where we have to go out there and focus on our job for sure. Yep.
Jonathan, Nate, Claire, then David.
Jonathan Merriman, NASCAR.com. Denny, given what Kyle was able to do last year, win at Sonoma, go on that tear in the chase, and with Tony being in a similar situation, kind of not necessarily being an afterthought going into Sonoma, but he's 9 points out of it now. If he makes the top 30, when he makes the top 30 after Richmond, how big of a threat do you think Tony will be?
Who knows with Tony, honestly. I mean, we've seen years where, you just you're not saying anything about him and you're thinking he's run the worst he's ever run. And in 2011, he goes on a tear, wins half the races in the chase. So I think that he's a driver that, when he locks in, he can do great things. And I will treat him with the utmost respect going in as I am with the other 14 chase competitors that I got to race against. There is no time that you can take a Sprint Cup champion for granted. So they've won those championships for a reason, and I think being the last year, he's going to be even more motivated, so probably even more dangerous.
Nate, Claire, David, and then we'll finish up front with Holly Kane.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Denny, going back to Sonoma, I know that you've talked a lot about getting the momentum back that you had after the Daytona 500 win and getting that second win. I know you've wanted to win a road course. When you have that kind of mistake, how do you handle that with the team? Do you go and say, hey, I'm sorry? Do you have a pep talk? Does it just go unsaid that you were doing your best and it won't happen again? And are we looking at it wrong? Was that a big step forward for your team, even though it wasn't a win, given where you guys have struggled this year?
Sonoma was unique because, literally going into the weekend, I would have said, anything in the top 12 to 10, I'll take it and not even fly out there. About the middle of the race, I said, I'll take a top 5 and go home. And then 3/4 of the way through, we're leading laps, we're pulling away. I'm thinking, well, we should be winning this race. Things just worked out great for Tony. He pitted and a caution comes out and it, really helped him, and it took us out of the lead. Not necessarily out of the lead that hurt us, but being able to dictate the restart. So he was able to dictate the restarts, and then I got passed by the 78 on a restart, and I had to work around him, and it just burned all my stuff up before I got to him. In my defense, which I still should not make mistakes, is that I'd never been in that position before. I've not been that competitive on road courses, and so, I didn't know the proper defensive move going into the last corner. I'd love to have that situation back again, but I really just didn't know the proper move. I thought I had 2 car lengths. Looking back at the video, I probably had 3, and that's kind of the point where you can just run your own corner and maybe be okay. But I knew he was going to throw caution to the wind, and I literally looked up and went to my same braking point, and I wheel hopped again. And it's not like it was just an anomaly. I'd wheel hopped the previous 2 laps in a row. That's how I got beside him in the first place. And so I just made a mistake being in a position I'd never been in before. But now I have confidence that now every road course I go to, I can win those races. And so I think that, hopefully, if anything, that's a point for me that I think that when I go back to road courses, I know that I can win these races. And really, going into Sonoma, I didn't go there with a whole lot of aspirations of winning that race. I just haven't been that great on them. I've always struggled for speed. It's not been because of my cars. It's been because of me. But now I feel like completing the cycle is possible, and I'll get it before my career is over for sure. Did you talk to the team? I did. I talked to the team and said I apologized. I hate to call one of my crew guys out, but I mean, he even had a conversation with my girlfriend and she says, "Hey, we're going to get a win today." He says, we might want to play the lotto instead. We hadn't had the best luck on road courses. I mean, I think statistically, probably the worst average finish of any full-time Cup driver over the last 6 years. And so it was out of the blue, and I don't know, I'm sort of happy with second. I also could have been 32nd after the last corner if he was close enough. So who knows? But I'd love to play it over again and have the experience that I have now, knowing what I maybe could have done, because I've never really honestly broke down road course races to figure out the proper defensive move in the final corner of a final lap.
Go to Claire, then to David, and then to Holly.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Do you have something that you would like brought up at the Drivers' Council meeting tonight? I asked Dale, and he was talking about too many people around the cars, which, you could, last week was obviously a problem. Is there anything else you want discussed tonight?
I mean, just on a personal level, while we're here for 3 days, I think that's the biggest thing is, especially speedway racing in general, practice is very limited. I know it's tough for the racetracks. They want to have people here as much as possible, but you literally on Thursday, there's really not many people out there watching practice. We could do it on Friday and qualify later on and be done, and it's one extra day for these crew guys. I mean, this is a holiday weekend somewhat, so let's get these crew guys home in a timely fashion, I'd say.
Go to David, then to Holly.
David Scott from the Charlotte Observer. Denny, assuming it does, how does winning the Daytona 500 change your life from your perspective and also how people view you?
It's a question that's going to have to come years down the road, or an answer that's going to have to come years down the road. I think that, I'm only 6 months out. I mean, obviously, a lot of people were watching that race. A lot of people know just that race because that's the one race that they tune into to start the year, and they know it's our biggest one. So anytime you can win that one, it's awesome, especially in the fashion that we won it. But, I mean, yeah, I think for me it's just the casual race fan that doesn't watch racing at all. They know me as the person because they've seen me through the media and or whatnot win the Daytona 500. So, I think what it means for me in the long term, I don't know, but I can't wait to find out for sure.
Go to Holly, and then to Kelly to wrap up.
Holly Kane, NASCAR.com. Forgot what I was supposed to say. Could you just, do you like racing here? Do you get kind of excited to be able to come back? I know, maybe recently races haven't gone your way, but your finish here at Daytona is pretty incredible, and you've always done well. I remember when you won that as a rookie. Yeah,
it's been a great, for some reason, it was about 5 years ago that something happened on the road or on the restrictor plate racetracks where it clicked and I got it. I can name a few instances that's really helped me, but I don't want to necessarily say that. But I just feel comfortable. I feel like I know what I'm doing, and the results have showed it. Eventually, we're gonna get in a wreck. I think we did it. Yeah, we did at Talladega. But I just been very fortunate on super speedways, and the bad finishes that I've had is not because something I feel like that I did. It was something that I got caught up in. So I've been fortunate. It's been a great battle with the 88, probably the last 4 years with me and him. There's been a lot of 1-2 finishes with us. And hopefully, I'd love to complete the sweep, winning the Unlimited, the 500, and in the July race. I feel like I gift basketed them that dual win on Thursday this year, so I'd like to get them back here in July.
We'll wrap here on the right with Kelly.
Kelly Crandall from NBC Sports. Denny, you got to design your paint scheme this weekend. Just curious how that came about, and have you ever been able to have any input with your paint schemes? Because it seems like FedEx has been very consistent with their colors and designs through the years.
Yeah, I wanted, it was an awesome thing for me. Obviously, after the Daytona 500, they presented my crew chief with, a nice gift and everything, and they, I remember my first gift from FedEx, and it's material things, and it's all great, but they said, what else do we give you? And so they offered me the opportunity to design my own paint scheme for this July race coming back. I didn't think about the temperature with the color choices for sure. But I just wanted it to be like an old school late model type car. This isn't really what my late models looked like, but it just, to me, I look at the car and I think old school short track type, paint scheme that they have on super late models. So it's cool. It's, a lot of the colors that I have on my personal logos is black, red, and white. So I think next year, if they let me do it, it's going to be a white on white on white. I get to have a little bit of input for sure, but I mean, people at FedEx are a lot smarter than I am with branding and figuring out what colors pop on certain things, and so they're pretty consistent on doing everything, and I'm okay with it.
Well, thanks to Mother Nature, I think he has some extra time to go back to the transporter and do some more designing. But
Yes.
thanks a lot for coming
Thank
in,
you.
and good luck
Appreciate
this
it.
weekend.
Thanks.